Hey everyone, welcome back to The Sensitivity Doctor. This is Dr. Amelia Kelley. Today I had a fabulous bestie of mine, Lindsay Abernathy, on the show from Bitch is a Bad Word podcast. I have been on her show before. She is just fire. She's so much fun. She's super informative and such a champion for survivors of abusive relationships. And, we actually started this episode thinking we were going to talk about what do you do after you leave and how do you trust again and love again. And I think we just kind of naturally realized we needed to have the hard conversation first about what does it look like when you're in it? How do you know you're in it? And what is the playbook that all of these abusers are all following? Because it's really unoriginal and it's almost universal. So this conversation is a little bit of her story, a little bit of the terminology that we know around abuse that she's putting into a really cool dictionary, and just so much in between. So I really hope that someone out there who needs to hear this is going to hear this episode today. And if you are someone who is in a relationship where you feel unsafe or you know someone who is, please make sure to reach out or call the hotline at 800-799-7233. That's here in the States. And if you are not in America, please reach out to your local providers and see if you can find a number to get some help in your area. And if you can't, please message me, let me know, and I will do the research and find it for you. I promise that to you. So sit back and I hope you enjoy the conversation and it brings you comfort and guidance in whatever you're going through right now. Gosh, we have a lot to unpack. Lindsay, at long last, you are here.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to get into it with you.
Yeah.
I had such a great time with you on my show and our continued conversations. So let's go.
Yeah, let's rock. Okay. So for anyone who's listening who does not know about your killer podcast that I was honored to be on and who you are, can you give a little intro and also why you're so passionate about the work you do?
Of course. Well, I'm Lindsay Abernathy and I'm the host and creator of Bitch is a Bad Word podcast. Apple, Spotify, anywhere you listen to your shows, you can find us. And we joined the circuit in January after some consideration about telling my story and maybe a lot of other stories in a fictional-based TV series. And that is how I originally pitched it. I was like, there's so much going on in my personal life. And I've heard so many snippets of other people's crazy stories that I was like, this should be a show, but we'll make it fiction. And then I pitched it to who's now my producer of the podcast, and everything in Hollywood had kind of been upside down. All the writers were on strike. We knew SAG would strike next. And so she's like, do you think you could make this a podcast? I'm like, I have no idea. I've never done that before, but give me a challenge and I'll fucking go. So let's do it. So it started as we really just turning the mic on, and we all said, just be prepared that we're going to speak to an audience of one, maybe. And it didn't go that way. It ended up being kind of rolling out in a pretty big audience, and then people responding and coming back to us saying, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for having a platform like this. And what I was doing research into how I wanted our show to be, what I was seeing was amazing professionals like yourself that were speaking on topics that were very clinical and using big words and things that I'm like, I don't know what this means, but I just know that I'm in a relationship that is not healthy. And I would Google, is this abuse? Then I would hear these terms. And so I'm listening to these shows. I'm thinking, how do I reach it on a survivor platform where I'm just sitting here as your bestie and we're on the couch and I'm the person you can talk to. I'm the person that you can share the dirty laundry, spill the tea with. And then we can bring on these big names, big professionals with the big words and all the letters behind their names, and really kind of bring the two together. So that was the goal. My backstory is I was an actor. I worked on The Walking Dead, Vampire Diaries. I've been in film and TV forever. So this was a new space. And it just came into a way that was I want to be relatable. I want to be able for somebody listening for just 5 seconds, somebody who may be just popping on to a podcast wondering if the relationship that they're in is not good, they can hear somebody breaking it down to the lowest common denominator. So that is our show.
I love how you say the lowest common denominator. I like how you had described your origin of bestie, though, because I've heard you and I've seen you use besties quite often, which I think is so cute, on, your platforms and whatnot. And admittedly, jealously, I'm like, ooh, what can I call my people? Like, it's so brilliant. But I kind of love that it wasn't even because you were trying to reach anyone necessarily, just kind of organically happen because that's who you want to be talking to. Mm-hmm. I love that.
It definitely evolved this way. So if you know me personally, I say it to my kids, I say it to my friends. I'm like, oh, you're my bestie. And all my daughters, when they were growing up, I'm like, I have the best day. I love you. You're my bestie. And they're like, you're my bestie too. So it's something that I have always said in my inner circle of just like, that's telling you that you're my people and I love you and you're my besties. And as this was growing, I'm like, wait, I want to be your bestie. You need a bestie. Let's be real. Your best friend that's sitting next to you may not even know that you're in an abusive relationship because there's a lot of shame and you may not be sharing that part of your story. And so that's what I'm here to be and now it's like growing. We're growing a freaking bestie gang. We're like, we're your MILF mafia. And we just want to, grow this amazing community where people can go in and find, that voice that helps them feel that they're not alone.
So your story that led you here, I don't know how much you want to share of it, but if you could maybe just a glimpse to help maybe a couple of your future sensitivity doctor besties feel like they could relate to you. Yeah, I don't think what I call my kids would work because I'm pretty sure my listeners don't want to be called my boo-boos. But
but hey, you know what? Like I'm your boo doctor. Like, let's go, boos. Like we could give me a couple days and I'll think of something that works.
Okay, hit me up.
Yes, I mean, I share the story loosely, right? I've been very vulnerable. I've been very open about my situation and in ways that I'm trying to, obviously not share too much, but I was in a domestically abusive relationship for a very long time. And I didn't know it at the time, but I knew it at the time. If that is like now that I'm outside and I'm looking at it through a different lens and I'm hearing so many people share their stories.
Right.
I'm like, this is exactly what it was. But I didn't understand the pattern. So my story starts much like everybody else's. In a relationship very quick with somebody who was very charming, who spoke, very well and quoted books and people that I'd never heard of. And I was this sort of like chill beach rat, just like, what's up? What's up? Hey, what's up? Pissed. I was just that person. So then I'm like, wow, somebody's more educated, seemingly more intelligent. Maybe I can learn something. And so our relationship moved very, very quickly. What I now know as love bombing was happening. And I had come from a relationship prior, and I can say now I like to own this part of my story is that I wasn't ready. I wasn't healed. I hadn't done the work on myself that I needed to do. So I was a pretty easy target in a few different ways. Like I feel in some, like I was the sitting duck. And as the relationship progressed, and it was like we were meeting, on vacation, very like elaborate vacations, elaborate dinners, elaborate things, just like so fancy. And you're sort of swept off your feet in those moments that what I, wasn't really listening to myself and to my gut. And then it moved by the time I maybe could have rolled it back and said, hold on, let's like pump the brakes. I was so invested. I was so in love. I was so into this that I kind of thought that maybe I was not seeing it the right way, or there would be like little comments or things that were happening that I'm like, did I hear that right? And now that I know it was gaslighting, no, I didn't say that. I didn't mean it like that. You're so sensitive. And then we moved in together very quickly and we had like children together very quickly. So very fast forward. And then as the relationship continued, the ante was upped, and it went from just sort of like snide comments to really shitty comments to shittier comments, and really just all the things about me that at one point this person valued and thought were so amazing and so rad were just like the worst, most heinous qualities that they hated, and that like they loathed me. And that put me in a place where I had just no self-worth anymore. Because it was so confusing. I'm like, but this is like, I haven't changed. This is the person that you say you loved. And now you loathe these things about me that I can't fundamentally really change.
Right.
I don't really want to change. And two, what was happening was all of my circle, which was really big. I had great friends and I knew a lot of people, and I worked in Hollywood. I had really rad people in my life, just super baddies, and they were all systematically, now I see, were like stripped away. And my support system was narrower. And then I would talk about things that were very vulnerable to me, and then those would come back and, oh, your dad's a crazy, your brother's an asshole. So I started to believe that all of these people that were in my life were actually causing all these problems for us. So I was pushing people out. What I now know is that that's the game, isolation. They put you in a silo. You only see the world through their lens, and you're easily controlled and manipulated. Mm-hmm. So by the time it got to the point where it was just like absolute escalation and things were getting physical, that was during a time during a lockdown. There wasn't really anybody to talk to about it then either. So it was like I was hidden. And then I thought, you know what? We were in this argument and he was saying all these things. And then I pushed back on him, like, why are you talking to me like this? And it was, maybe I deserved it. Maybe, what did I do? Maybe. So anyway, all of this to say that I spent a lot of time in a relationship where I was walking on eggshells. I was like hushing my children, almost feeding them words to say when, the other person came around, and we could pretty much tell the mood by the way he opened the door and or pulled his car into the driveway. And I would go into immediately okay, you guys go do this, you go do this, I'm going to have this. And we just lived in this walking around this person's mood. And at the same time, I'm blending a family. I have other things happening. And so I could always justify the bad behavior or the arguments or because we had so much going on. Right. And there was a few times where I would be living in a moment, and they would say to me well, when this happens, life will be better. When we have this, life will be better. When we move here, when we do this, which I now know is future faking. I lived so much in the future of, if we can just get through this moment, if we can just get through this hard place, they won't be so mean. They won't say, they won't say bad words. And it's not true. The bad words continued. So yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking it was a me problem. I spent a lot of time thinking if I just changed who I was, if I just minimized myself, if I stopped saying street words, if I stopped saying this, if I dressed this way, if I did this, if I cooked, if I quit my job, if I did all these things, then I would get back the person that was so amazing to me in the beginning. And sort of what I've learned now is, when we hear these questions well, why didn't you just leave? It was so bad. Why did you stay? I had a million reasons I had to stay. I had kids. I wasn't quite sure I was ready to blow up another relationship. I wasn't quite sure how I was, going to live. But I didn't want the relationship to end. I just wanted the abuse to stop.
Oh, that's powerful.
That was what it was. It was because they're not mean all the time. They're not bad all the time. They're not, that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
So in those moments where they're back and they're loving you again and you're back on the pedestal, you're like, whatever I have to do, this is what I can live with. I can live with this relationship for the rest of my life if it can just stay this way. But it doesn't. So, and I think most people, they don't want, they're in love or you're addicted. We're learning that too. When you're addicted to that person and you're like, you have been love bombed and you're chemically like, I have to get off the drugs of this person. That's hard to do too. And balance the family. Take kids to carpool, take kids to soccer, all the things.
Right. Abstinence from a person, especially if you're co-parenting or you have any sort of intermingling of your lives, is a huge undertaking.
Yes. And, you want, we have all these like visions of what success and failure look like in life. And success looks like you have an intact family and a mom and a dad. And I came from a divorced family. So I'm like, oh God, like here I am doing it again. Like now I've done it twice. So I had a lot of my own self-loathing moments where I just felt like I have to do whatever I can do to keep this family together because I owe that to my kids. And two, I felt like if I was not with my kids 100% of the time, then I didn't know what they would be living through. So I felt at least if I'm here, I can offset and I can counterbalance and I can control the temperature.
That, okay, that just hits such a chord for me because there are people I love in my own life who are not removing themselves from a dangerous situation right now for that very reason. And it is so painful to watch.
It's got to be painful to watch. I hear it from my family who were on the outside just like screaming like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't watch. Like just go, and we say this a lot. I say this on my show, like, there's no shame in staying. There's no shame in it, however long it takes you to get to the point where you understand that the emotional and physical safety outweighs any fantasy that we can have of keeping our family together because you're in a relationship with a pathological person, an abusive person. So unfortunately, you just you have the bad guy lottery and you have to just live with what you can make better on the other side. And what I say to your friend and your friends that are listening, I promise you that leaving is the best thing you can do for yourself and your children because you are living in a relationship where 100% of their environment is hectic, chaotic, unhealthy, and you're teaching your children that this is A, acceptable, or B, to accept as from a partner, or teaching them that this is the behavior that they should mimic and mirror and become that person to another partner.
Right.
And that's not good, right? So we have to be cycle breakers and break that cycle. And guess what? For your 50% of the time or whatever your time split ends up being, and I know it's like I can't even imagine, I don't have my kids for 50% of the time. Well, for 50% of your children's lives, you get to wholeheartedly create the environment. It can be calm and beautiful and, safe. And you get to be that person where your children will learn, and they will, I promise you, they will learn that you're the safe parent and they can come home and regulate themselves with you. And they have 50% of their time to not be in the chaos. And that is going to serve them over their life longer than staying in the relationship well. And believe me, I used to count how many years until they're 18, how many Christmases can I get through this, having another hectic, horrible Christmas where there ends up being a fight or another holiday that's ruined or another birth. Because God forbid you try to have any of those things with a pathological or narcissistic person, they're going to ruin the shit out of it. So now I'm like, we get to have, half those Christmases together, but half of those Christmases are going to be amazing. They're not going to be kids looking back going, God, every holiday sucked.
And, when I think about, there's this really powerful piece of research that was looking at how much do the negative experiences in our childhood impact us in comparison to our positive experiences and our positive attachments? And when, from what I've seen from all the research, it all points in the same direction that when there is at least one primary connection, secure attachment connection, it can be enough to create the full structure of a healthy ego state for a child as in when they grow into adulthood. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to have to do a lot of therapy. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of processing. So it makes me think of what you're saying, where we're saying 50% of the time, which honestly, my friend who I am thinking of, who probably knows who I am speaking to, he will not give 50%. That's all I have to say.
I just had chills. I'm like, hell yes, good.
He will not get 50%. But for whatever percentage they're with her, it will be the whole version of her. Because when you are trying to sustain peace in the abuse, even if you're dictating and making sure everything's okay, they're still never getting the full scope of you because you're in that survival state all the time.
You are stressed AF and your kids feel it, and your PTSD is real. They're, everything that's happening is like a trigger. And then you're also trying to manage somebody else's emotions. Whereas, we have to understand and learn, like, that's not our responsibility. We can't, but we are in that survival mode where we feel like we have to control the environment, and it's exhausting. So I want to tell your besties to say, listen, hopefully you get 100% custody. Hopefully you get, or whatever that, depending on how, whatever the situation works out to be. But in your time off, you get to reinvent yourself. You get to breathe and do things that you weren't allowed to do. You get to come back into yourself. You get to grow those, parts of you that have just been dead and, buried. And you also get to have your life that, your friends back that didn't want anything to do with your horrible relationships, that your family that left, the people that left your life because they were either pushed out by your partner, or they just, sometimes people are like, I can't do this. I can't be part of this anymore. It's too exhausting. They've got their own life to live, right? All the good ones come back. And then you're like, I'm back, baby. Let's do this. And it feels amazing. And your kids see that. Your kids see that light in your eyes. Your kids see you happy again. Hope to God, they get to witness, and of the version of you that is there. And that is so beautiful.
I love that so much. And, one other question I have about your thoughts on this, kids and family. And then I know I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about, what do you do if you want to do this again? If you want to go back to bat and try to find that partner, and how do you trust yourself to do that again? So stay tuned, part 2 of the episode. But one other thing that comes to my mind when it comes to family, though, is you just said the people who couldn't put up with it, or maybe you had kind of phased out during that isolation phase, of which, can I just say, the way that you recounted what you experienced in your relationship, I mean, it's shocking to me that there's not literally a textbook for these abusers, because it's so unoriginal when you look at the way that it progresses.
Yeah, I say that I want to know what the dirty mag that they're passing around, the abusive dirty playbook, because I'm I've been doing the show for a minute. Mm-hmm. Every person that comes on, I almost want to sit there with my bingo card and be like, yes. The time up.
Bumming.
Yeah, we did
isolation.
Check.
Monetary, what is it? Financial abuse. Gaslighting.
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding.
Future faking. Oh, amazing. Yeah, we've done it all, guys. Yes. And it's so, well, I will say, Amelia, this is exciting because I'm dropping a book, but we're doing it online first, but we're building a bitchinary.
And oh my God, that's so fun.
The bitchinary is all these terms that were
perfect.
But now you've given me a really great idea to put it in. I was putting in alphabetical order, It's kind
No,
of
but
an
in
urban dictionary,
Succession.
but yes, Succession is such a great
Yes.
idea. So
Yes. I
we're
love that.
the Bittionary, like look out for it. I'll soon, but
That's amazing and so useful because it's kind of like, what would this look like if this were to happen or if this is happening to me?
well, because it doesn't make sense when you're in it. You're sitting there going, okay, and the valuation, the value, the devalue, all of these things. I mean, that is the how they hook you. And I say
Right.
this all the time. You you're not like there's not anything wrong with you if you're sitting here listening, going, what the hell? How did I let myself get here? Because I would say the same thing. You're not going on a first date with somebody and they're slapping you in the face and you're like, I can't
Right.
wait to see you tomorrow. Like, unless that's your thing. Like, and you've agreed in consent
But then we're
that
talking
you
about the
like,
kink community, which is a
yeah,
completely different
that's a
thing.
different community. But if that's consensual and that's what you're in for,
Right.
great. But the
Right.
majority of us aren't down for that. And it's not happening that way. It is insidious. It is slow burning and it can take days, weeks, months, years. And again, going back to, how they methodically do it, by the time that they have removed you and put you in the silo, you don't know, and they're gaslighting, you don't know you're up from down or you're down from up.
Right.
And you sit there very confused. And again, it's because of the insidious nature of it. In that in between, like Dr. Nay, I love her, which she says like intermittent reinforcement. And that's what it is. You're in there. And in that moment where you're like, they've just told you you're the absolute, like, see you next Tuesday. You're the worst mom. You can't cook. I hate the way you dress. You're getting fat. Da, da, da. You don't do anything right. And you suck. Then while you're still ruminating in all of that, they have this ability to just, it's gone. Once it's out of their mouth, it doesn't even sit with them. They don't feel bad. They have no remorse. And they can crawl into bed with you and let me hold you. I love you. I'm so sorry you made me say those things. I, and then you're going, okay, well, they're the only ones here to pick up the damn pieces. So I have
Right.
and now they're loving me again. And now, like, let's go on vacation. Let's go to dinner. Let me buy you something. All it, the cycle happens within the cycle. And that's,
Right.
they're back to doing the, the succession of it all again and again and again and again. And that is why we're just like sort of trapped in this just cyclone of confusion that, and then you're like, there'd be days where I'm like in the shower, completely crying, looking at myself, feeling like the worst possible version, feeling gross, feeling ugly, feeling stupid, and believing every single word, believing every single thing. And I'm like, I've got so much work to do if I'm going to, turn this ship around. And they're really talented at getting into your brain. They're like that like a wormhole.
Right. Yeah. And you,
And they're con artists. That's the thing too. That's why they can all read this. Like they all play the same thing. It's like this particular pathological person, abusive person, they're really good at what they do. The con is
right.
real.
Right. And you had brought up intermittent reward, which I've spoken about, and I actually in What I Wish I Knew I talked about it. That was my first book, but
Oh,
the one with the survivor. But I think the thing about intermittent reward that struck me was our actual hormonal and neurological response to it. I sometimes call it like a psychological slot machine, right? We're not going to
okay.
keep plugging quarters in and going for it if we know it's never ever going to pay out. But
Right.
when it pays out, our euphoria hits so high that we're fine with measly quarters dropping out after we've dropped $100 into the machine. And it kind of reminds me of the standard of repair that can happen. I think in the beginning, this is me just hypothesizing from what I've seen. Okay. So I'm not
Okay.
saying this is like, set in stone, but in the beginning, when someone is love bombing you and then you're getting into the cycle of abuse where they are trying to repair and then we go back around, what I have seen is the efforts in the beginning are more grand.
Mm-hmm.
But as the relationship progresses, I had a client recently that we have lovingly called almost every repair her emotionally abusive husband uses the queso, because she had one instance where he offered her the last bit of queso on the buffet at an event they were at, and that meant so much to her.
OMFG. I have to tell you this, because this was this was his thing for me. And this breadcrumb was like, I was eating this baguette.
Yeah.
And he would always say, like, the last bite is for you. And I'm like, oh, like, ew, actually, the last gross bite of like the crusty, crappy piece. But
here's the mold.
Yeah. And I was so like, I ate it up like it was the first bite, and the cake was only made for me, and it was so special. I ate that last little, like, I'm full, I don't want it. That's really what it is. Like, it was, but it meant so much to me that it kept me in it. Like, okay, well, he said, I'll always get the last bite, and he's doing it. And it's so wrong.
Textbook.
It's like, yes, it's like the fact that that's what she's like, queso. I'm sure he gave me the last little bit of queso too. Like, it's crusty. We don't need that.
Maybe we should create a new term to go in your Bitctionary about like the crusty endings or something. I don't know. Oh, and really, it's kind of like the repair method evolves where like, okay, so our standard of safety has gone from here to here. So now the standard of repair only needs to be ever so high. And it's, if you're listening and you feel like you are, to your point, eating up a repair, something as simple as, do you want me to make dinner tonight? Which is a completely reasonable, collaborative thing that adults should do for each other. That's not a grand gesture, people.
No.
That's like being an adult.
Yeah. Because your relationship, especially with kids, should not be 50-50. It should be 100-100. And, you know, it's not just like one person gets like, no, you're all showing up 100%, or you show, you know, and then you kind of go down from there. You're not helping. You're not babysitting the kids.
Right.
You know, it's not
a favor.
No. It is part of this equal opportunity relationship. And but they're like, oh, you sleep in. I mean, well, I don't know. I never had that situation. It seemed like when I had more kids, it ticked up, and there was like, sometimes I would think like, are you jealous of our children? Are you jealous of, like, are you mad at me? Like,
you know that's a cornerstone of narcissism, is that generally they're threatened by children, and their behavior gets worse, not better, with the introduction of children.
Well, that is, tick that box, because that's exactly what happened. And I'm like, I've just made a human. Like, what did you do today? I made a human. So I'm going to rest, and I'm going to lie down. Like, that never happened. Like, most of our things, like, that's kind of exactly what happened. Things sort of ticked up. Like, all of a sudden, we need to move. We need to renovate. We need to, like, what? We just, like, I need to lie down and not get up for 6 weeks. And I didn't have, there was no, like, rubbing my feet moments. There was no, it was very sad looking back on it.
Yeah.
But I felt like I was told that this was my job. The job is, you are the morning nurse, the night nurse. At one point, the conversation was, I was like, I need a break from nursing. Like, the baby won't stop nursing. I just need a minute. Yeah. And the conversation in the middle of the night wasn't, let me take the baby and on a walk, or like, you know, the baby can take a break nursing. The conversation was, you are the baby. Like, sole purpose of to survive is like solely on you. And so you are the bottle. You are the resource. And I remember being now I'm looking on it, it's shame.
Yeah.
But I needed a break.
Well, it's very dehumanizing too.
Yeah. No, this is your job. You are like a boob for this baby, and that's your job. And so complaining about it or needing help felt like I was complaining.
Well, but complaining would be okay too. Like, having nursed It's okay to complain. Like, it can hurt
Right? It
sometimes.
hurt.
You can get overtouched. Like, it is getting touched
Yeah.
out is a real thing. Valid to complain sometimes.
Okay, well, thank you, because I was complaining.
Well,
My boobs
good.
hurt, and I was like, then I was nursing while I was pregnant with another baby. So
Oh,
then I
that's
was like,
hard.
I can't. This is like so much, and I have other kids. So in those moments, though, they're very good. And again, I guess your guards are down, you're tired, all the things that we now know are just part of the playbook to make you just feel so bad. You can also in the same time justify that why this is happening. And if I'm so tired and like, no, I don't want to have sex, and no, I don't want to do these things, so like I'm probably pushing him away, or because now a healthy partner would be completely understanding and be supportive,
Right.
whereas a pathological abusive person, they are jealous, they're like, they are mad, you know that's not an easy thing to deal with too. I always want to say, like, when I share these stories, that the person that's listening, who may be listening and nursing, you are doing the most amazing thing ever. You are a baddie, you are a mother, and you should be celebrated. And if you're not, I'm sorry. We're here for you. But just everything that they're telling you is a lie. Everything. Nothing about what they say about you is true. It's not. So just know that. And they're like, we talk about this. I think, did we talk about this before? But I used to be like accused of things all the time. And I'm like, when would I have done this? I have 9,000 kids. Like, where was I? I was where and doing what with who? Like, I was, okay, that didn't happen. No, I wasn't there. No, whatever. I won't get into super detail today. But what I realized was they were projecting all the things they were doing onto me. So cheating, spending too much money, not being clear with, intentions, not, being avoidant, not being there for the family. Those were all things that they were doing to me,
Yeah.
but making it seem like and then how do you justify to something like, there's no crazier scenario where somebody's accusing you of something you absolutely didn't do, but
Right.
they are relentless, like a freaking honey badger. And they get like to the point where you're like, do I just admit that I did the thing I didn't do so that they'll just leave me alone? Okay, fine. Yeah, fine. Then that's real. Like, so many women say, I admitted to doing things I never did just so that I could get them to stop,
Right.
like, give me a break. I'm like, no, that's called like, I do that
Gaslighting.
in, like, yeah, that's gaslighting, but it's also like prisoners of war shit.
Oh
That's
gosh, yeah. No,
what
I
they
mean
do.
seriously. And if you think about the fact that if we look at the playbook that you were talking about from earlier, by that
Mhm.
point, there's already so many cracks in the foundation. Like, your sense of self has already been worked on so hard
Right.
that for us to be like able to stand up for ourselves, we have to be able to stand up. But if we're already feeling so broken down, that's a lot harder to do, especially when someone is charismatic and convincing and they can fill in the gaps. Like, what were you
Mm-hmm.
doing last Saturday? I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know what I was doing last Saturday. It would take me a moment to think about it.
But you're a
But
liar. What were you doing? Where were you?
right,
Why don't you remember? You don't remember because, like, lies are really hard to remember.
right. And then you're
Like,
like,
the
no,
truth is easy.
but I wasn't, right, exactly. And so and I think also one of the things about the love bombing phase that we didn't talk about was that not only is it a time to adorn and adore, but all the questions and wanting to get to know you so intensely and intimately without sharing their own vulnerability might seem like someone who's a good listener, but in fact, it can also be someone who's just collecting information.
Yep. They're taking inventory. They're taking the inventory. They are, oh, wow. You're like, that was such a hard childhood you had with your mother. Oh, wow. I will tell you, I shared that I was sexually assaulted when I was a teenager. And I was very vulnerable, and they were very upset about this. Imagining me as a teenager being raped. That's I'm going to say the R word. I was raped. And I hadn't shared it with somebody so quickly before, and I hadn't really shared it much at all. Maybe one other person knew. And they were like on a crusade. I'm going to go find the person. And they must be exist. Like and I'm like, here's my knight in shining armor coming to save my 16-year-old self who really needed this person. And it came back later in the most revolting, disgusting way that, and I say this, they put it in a narc vault. They are putting it in their narc vault. They have a memory like of a freaking elephant. I don't even know what that means, but I've heard it. But they can remember
Fish?
everything.
Elephant?
I can't.
I don't
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't remember.
My passwords. I'm like, password can't be the same as old password. What? I don't even remember I can't. My memory is bad.
What was my dog's name in 1982? No, I'm just kidding.
I know. What was your mascot in your elementary? I'm like, I picked the question. Now I don't know. But their memory is so insane. It's so crazy sharp. And later it came back that when we were not in a good, healthy place, because when someone's calling you a C next Tuesday all the time and all the bad words he was saying to me, I'm not interested. I'm not my connection was moving away from him and I didn't want to have sex anymore. There was a time where he would say like, well, you're a cold fish, probably because you were raped. What? What? And I'm going,
talk about
I'm not
weaponizing.
Big time. Like I was just like AK-47 down with that and going, wait, am I bad in bed? Like, am I not a good lover? Is that, oh, you're not a good lover because of this. And I thought, well, I'm 16. I'm not here to like talk about body counts, but no one's ever said this before. No one's ever said I was bad in bed. And now you are. And then I literally went down this rabbit hole of like almost wanting to phone every single person I'd ever had sex with and been like, am I a cold fish? Am I good in bed? Did you enjoy having sex with me? And I didn't, but I might now do that on the show. Maybe I'll have a new segment where
Oh, that'll be a fun one. The cold fish segment.
So I'm like, but how horrible. And that's what they do. And I say this again, I use humor as my trauma response. But when I look back and it was gutting at the time, and I can look back on it now going, wow, that is really twisted. Not beyond twisted. That's evil. That is to do that to somebody. But
Completely agree.
They take inventory of you and they love in that love bombing stage. You can't imagine that you've met somebody that is like so perfect for you. They love the same things. They love the same books, or they love this, or they love that. Like they love underwater basket weaving. Oh yeah, me too. I was the captain of my underwater basket weaving team in high school. And you're like, oh, here he is on his horse and everything.
We can weave together like our hearts and souls.
Exactly. Yay. And you are sitting there completely just taking the bait. And I love to call these people master baiters. They are so good at baiting you.
Yeah.
And you just take it every time and you're hooked. And probably like it takes less and less bait to get you back in. But at the beginning, that love bombing is, and I wish there was like almost a different term in some ways because we hear it so much that.
Well, and also the word love has so many different like angles and meanings to it. I think there's a notion that it's all flowers and I think also it doesn't justify what happens in healthy relationships when there's a cycle of repair. Some way to decipher and discern between what that looks like when there's good intentions and actual change behind it versus the love bombing in the beginning.
That's okay, because that's important too. To know, I mean, no relationship is without its problems. No relationship is without its arguments, all that thing. But I love that. It's the repair. And if you're having to always do the repair, if you're having to do the groveling, if your like knees are skinned because you're always down there being like, I'm sorry. And you don't even know what you're sorry for. I was saying sorry. I'm Canadian, so we already say sorry too much. But I was saying sorry for things that I knew I didn't do.
Yeah.
But I just was like, I'm done. I can't anymore. I'm tired. I'm sorry. Fine. Can we do this? And, I hear women that come on Bitch Is a Bad Word and they'll say like, I would do sexual things with my partner that I never thought I would do just because like that's in that moment, that was like the only way that I could get them to calm down. And that was the only way. So like women using sex as a way to reconnect or people using sex as a way to reconnect is healthy. But when you're using it as a way to manipulate your partner to stop the abuse, that's when it's like gets really messed up for people. And I hear it a lot that they're like, I did things that I never thought I would do just to get to get that person out of that, crazy rage or whatever
Well,
cycle they were in.
That brings up the fact that, and then there was something you said earlier about how your ex had responded to you sharing your experience of being raped that I want to say something about that I think is really important. And P.S. for anyone who's been waiting on the edge of their seat, like, when are we going to know how to find the next relationship? This is very obviously turning into a 2-part episode. And I think it makes sense, though, because how do we jump straight into what do we do next if we don't talk about what do we do now? So stay tuned.
I'll come back.
Stay tuned, boo-boos.
See? You got it. Let's go, boos.
So 2 pieces here. The first about what he had said when you shared what you had experienced. I just want to put the bug in everyone's ear to pay attention to something. I wouldn't necessarily call this a red flag that is glaring that says this is someone who will become abusive. But I do think it's an important red flag if you're looking for someone who's emotionally mature and intelligent, which you can be somewhat emotionally immature and not an abuser. I'm not trying to say they're together, but I'm just saying it's not uncommon. If you're sharing a life experience that you have gone through, a pain that you have, and the person you're sharing it with somehow manages to twist it where it's about how hurt they are by what you went through and how shocked they are and how they have to do something about it, instead of them saying, that must have been really hard. Are you okay? Instead of them checking in on you first, that is a red flag to look out for.
So him being like, I've got to go to, like, that's the flag.
Yep.
They've got to be the hero in every scenario.
And control
How is somebody the hero and the villain? That's what they are.
Hero and villain. And it really is a sign of emotional immaturity. It really is, because that's how we would behave as a child if we hear about injustice. That's not how, case in point, if you were to tell me that happened to you, I wouldn't say, what town does he live in? I'm going to go find him. I'd say, gosh, Lindsay, that's terrible. And thank you for being so courageous to say it.
Wow. You're just like, I'm in a session with you. So the weight has been lifted, and I'm not interested in finding this person just for what it's worth. So that's what I'm like. What? Why would we bring that back up? That's such a great point. They had to go be the hero in this moment, and because I was in that space of, wow, no one's ever done this for me. I must be so special. You are special, by the way. You're special. But when you're with these people, you're not real special. It's all fake. And I want to say this too. I'm sort of like digressing for a second, because what I've told your listeners is that I felt really bad about myself, and I was like in the shower and crying and sad, and I felt like a shitty person all the time. These people are very attracted to baddies. Strong, capable, opinionated, smart, edgy, pushing, they are very interested in you because you are such a badass. And at the same time, they're going to be jealous over it. And all the things that they want that you possess, they want.
Right.
And so, she walks in her room and she doesn't know any strangers. Well, they're going to love that. They wish they were that, but people are repelled by them most likely, but you haven't seen that yet. And they're going to be upset about it. So they want to take the things that make you shine and dull them because they can't handle it. But they went after you, and don't feel bad about being hoodwinked by these people, because they don't want to play with a dead mouse. You gave them something that they wanted to play with. You gave them that fire. You gave them that feist. You gave them that, and they loved it. But they only love it for a little while.
Until it's a threat.
Exactly. And then just like a toddler would do, they're going to take their toys away. They want to share all the toys. They want to share all the things. You want to play together. We're going to sit and you can have my car and you can have, and then the second that you're a threat or the second that you don't, meet their standard in their mind or whatever it is, like that you'll never know. They don't even tell you what it is. They always move the goalpost. They're going to take their toys away and they don't want to play with you anymore. And then that's the worst.
And the interesting thing, if you take what you said and you look at the kind of externalized version of a baddie, like you walk into the room, people are drawn to you, you exude confidence. This is also very true for a lot of people who listen to this podcast who are highly sensitive, who maybe aren't the one that takes over a whole room, but our ability to pick up on what other people need and our ability to know how to make the room just right so that people feel comfortable and our ability to feel what others are feeling so we can translate it, that depth of empathy is also incredibly appealing to someone who struggles to do that in their real, true self.
Very true. Very true. Because you're most likely filling that void, their mother wound, or I'm just talking about if your relationship with a man or their father, like whatever, whoever your partner is, and you're repairing something, or you're filling a hole that they have, and that you end up taking care of someone. And I would hear all the time, "You're not meeting my needs," and I'm like, wait. I also have 2 babies that I absolutely have to meet their needs or they can't survive.
Right.
When I would hear this from a grown ass man, I was taking it like it was my responsibility. And what we now know, and as you get healthier and going, as you leave this life behind and you start to take care of yourself and take care of your emotional well-being and heal the parts of you that needed to heal and heal those wounds, you realize that you're not here to take care of somebody's needs. You're here to take care of yourself, take care of your side of the street. They take care of their side of the street and you have a really nice neighborhood and you're doing the best things that you can.
Have like a party, like a street party.
Yes. We're here. We're all sweeping our porches. Everybody's and look how nice this is. But you're not there to just solely serve somebody and you're not there. Your needs are valid too. And this is like a collective, a collaborative thing. When you're with an abusive person, emotionally, physically, sexually, spiritually, financially, otherwise, it is all about filling their cup. They have no interest in pouring into yours.
Right. You are so correct. And I loved how you said when you are basically envisioning what the next steps are, what is it after? And that's where I'm going to call it to be continued.
Oh, yes.
We're going to have to, because
we are.
I'm just really grateful that you did go the direction you went today, though, because I think it would have been a disservice to someone who maybe popped into our original chat that we were going to have. And they're like, well, wait, how do I even know how to get out? Or how do I know what's going on? How do I know if this is even abuse? So I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for knowing you. I've really genuinely, every time I chat with you, I just love it. So.
Oh, absolutely. This feeling is so mutual. And yeah, I'm glad that we need this space for somebody to know that that's what they're in. And also, being here. And I say this a lot. I have a show. Bitch is a bad word is true. Bitch is I love calling some bitches because it's empowering. But if someone's calling you bitch, it's not just bad words, it's abuse. On the other side of this, and this is kind of something I'm growing on in my podcast word is bitch is a rad word. And there is some really amazing opportunities and your life after this is rad. So we're going to get into that too.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lindsay. I know they can find you at your podcast. Is there anywhere else you'd like them to follow you or keep up or reach out if they need support or help or a new bestie?
Yes, I am your new bestie. I am your BFF for life. Reach out. I answer all of the DMs myself. So you can find us on Instagram at Bitch is a Bad Word Pod. TikTok and YouTube is Bitch is a Bad Word. We have a Patreon community that we're growing. So it's patreon.com/bitch is a bad word. There's some baddies in there that have found new communities, new friends. We do a segment called Tea with Lindsay, and I spill all the tea. There's all sorts of fun stuff there. And we have a phone number, 331-BITCHES.
Oh,
and
cool.
You can phone us, you can send us a text. And my favorite thing to do is I have a segment on my show called Texties from the XDs. And I read all of the unhinged text messages that have been sent to listeners over time.
Cool.
And when you put them on the wall or in a book, TBD, they are all appearing like they're coming from the same person.
Same playbook.
So, same playbook, going back to that. So send me your texties from your XDs and I'll read them on my show. But reach out. Please do. I love connecting. I'm growing a bestie gang. We have a really amazing community where we are helping. If you need help, we have resources. We have a partnership now with the hotline, and we're here to just grow a community where you can leave from being a survivor to thriving in your new life.
Love it. Fabulous. Well, I will definitely make sure in the beginning to pop in the info about the hotline and where you guys can make those calls if you need. But Lindsay, thank you again. I'm just so happy we got to get together. And
yes, thank you so much for having me on your show. I will very much be looking forward to part 2. Bye, besties.
Awesome. Be well, everyone.